Let's talk about how cops manipulate you during traffic stops and what you can do against it. So let's start with the most common manipulation tactic you'll encounter: the friendly conversation approach. The officer walks up to your window with a smile, maybe comments on the weather, asks how your day is going. Seems nice, right? But here's what's actually happening: they're building rapport so you'll let your guard down. They're listening to your voice for signs of nervousness. They're looking for any reason to extend the stop beyond its original purpose. Here's what you need to understand about traffic stops from a legal perspective. When an officer pulls you over for a traffic violation, that stop has a specific legal scope. They can investigate that particular violation. They can ask for your license, registration, and insurance. But they cannot turn a simple speeding ticket into a fishing expedition unless they have reasonable suspicion of another crime. So when that officer starts asking friendly questions like, "Where are you headed today?" or "Where are you coming from?" you are under absolutely no legal obligation to answer. None. And here's the key: you can decline to answer these questions politely without giving them reasonable suspicion. Try something like this: "Officer, I prefer not to answer questions beyond what's necessary for this traffic stop." That's it. You're not being rude. You're not being confrontational. You're simply exercising your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Now let's talk about the second major manipulation tactic: the false choice. This is when an officer phrases things in a way that makes you think you only have two options, when legally you might have more. A classic example: you can either let me search your car now, or I'll call a K-9 unit and make you wait here for 2 hours. Sounds like you have to choose one of those options, right? Wrong. The correct response is, "I do not consent to any searches." That's it. If they have probable cause to search, they'll search anyway. Your consent adds nothing except potentially waiving your rights. And here's a crucial legal fact: in most jurisdictions, they cannot detain you indefinitely waiting for a drug dog to arrive. The Supreme Court ruled in Rodriguez versus United States that prolonging a traffic stop to wait for a drug dog violates the Fourth Amendment unless there's reasonable suspicion of other criminal activity. Before we move on to the third manipulation tactic, I just want to remind you that if you need legal help or want to learn more about how to deal with cops, make sure to check the link in the description after you finish watching the video. The third manipulation tactic is what I call the pressure technique. This is when an officer tries to make you feel like you're already in trouble, or that things will get worse if you don't cooperate. They might say things like, "If you have nothing to hide, why won't you let me search?" Or, "You're acting nervous, which makes me suspicious." Let me be very clear: being nervous during a police encounter does not constitute probable cause or reasonable suspicion. Courts have repeatedly held that nervousness is a natural response to police encounters and cannot by itself justify a search or extended detention. And the "if you have nothing to hide" argument is a psychological trap. Innocent people have every reason to exercise their constitutional rights. Here's another pressure tactic: "I smell marijuana." Now, maybe they actually do smell something, or maybe they don't and they're just saying it to establish probable cause. Either way, your response should be the same: "I do not consent to any searches, and I want to remain silent." Do not try to explain. Do not try to defend yourself. Do not say, "Well, I smoked marijuana 3 days ago, but not today." Anything you say can and will be used against you. Let's talk about the fourth tactic: the implied threat. This is when an officer suggests that non-cooperation will result in negative consequences. "If you don't answer my questions, I'm going to have to assume you're hiding something." Or, "I was going to let you off with a warning, but now I'm going to write you every ticket I can." Here's what you need to know legally: an officer cannot punish you for exercising your constitutional rights. If they give you a ticket solely because you refuse to answer questions or refuse to search, that could be considered retaliation. Now, proving that in court might be difficult, but the principle stands. You have the right to decline searches and remain silent without facing retaliation. The fifth tactic is what I call the minimize and pivot. This is when an officer says something like, "I don't care about a small amount, I'm looking for bigger stuff. Just tell me what you have and we'll be done quickly." It sounds reasonable, but it's extremely dangerous. What they're really doing is asking you to confess to a crime based on the idea that it's not a big deal. Any suggestion of leniency is meaningless. Once you admit to something, they can charge you. and often will. Police don't decide charges, prosecutors do. Now for practical behavior during a stop. When you see the lights, pull over safely as soon as possible. Turn off the engine, roll down your window, and keep your hands visible on the steering wheel. These simple steps help keep the situation calm and reduce unnecessary tension. When the officer approaches, be polite but do not volunteer information. When they ask for your license and registration, tell them where these items are located before reaching for them. My license is in my wallet in my back pocket. My registration is in the glove compartment. Then retrieve them slowly and carefully. If they ask you questions beyond identification, here's a script you can use. Officer, I respect your authority, but I'm exercising my right to remain silent. I don't wish to answer questions. Am I free to go, or am I being detained? This question is crucial. If you're not being detained, you have the right to leave. If you are being detained, you're making it clear on any recording that you understand your rights and are not voluntarily extending the encounter. If the officer asks to search your vehicle, your response should be clear and unequivocal. I do not consent to any searches. If they claim they have probable cause and proceed with a search anyway, do not physically resist. Instead, clearly state, I do not consent to this search, so it's on record. Then remain silent. Here's something else crucial. Record the encounter if possible. In most states, you have the right to record police officers performing their duties in public. Put your phone on a dashboard mount or in a position where it's recording but not interfering with the stop. This recording could be vital evidence if your rights are violated. If you're arrested, know this. Anything you say before being read your Miranda rights can still be used against you. That's why staying silent starts from the very beginning, not after arrest. If arrested, immediately invoke two rights. Say clearly, I am invoking my right to remain silent and my right to an attorney. I will not answer questions without my lawyer present. Then stop talking. Police may keep questioning you, pressure you to cooperate, or claim things will get worse if you wait for a lawyer. Ignore it. Do not speak without your attorney. You might worry this sounds confrontational. Some officers may not like it, but asserting your rights is not illegal. If an officer reacts badly, that's their issue, not yours. The key is how you do it. Be calm, firm, and respectful. Don't argue. Simply say, I prefer not to answer questions, or I do not consent to searches. A few final tips. Never lie to police. Lying can turn a minor issue into a criminal one. Don't try to talk your way out of a ticket. Explanations can be used against you. If your rights are violated, don't argue on the scene. Challenge it later in court with an attorney. Traffic stops are meant to be brief and limited to the reason for the stop. If officers extend the stop, ask probing questions, or try to search without reasonable suspicion, they may be exceeding their authority. Your rights only protect you if you use them. Stay calm, be respectful, and don't give up your rights under pressure. Knowing this could make the difference between a minor inconvenience and a serious legal problem. If you found this video helpful and want to learn more about how to deal with police or get legal help, check the link in the description.